The sky burned red over Seoul when Captain Dae-ho Kim watched his world die. 3 massive alien ships hung above the city like dark angels of death. Their weapons fired without mercy, turning buildings into ash and people into memories. Dae-ho pressed his face against the bunker window as his home disappeared in flames. "Sir, we need to move," said Lieutenant Yoo-jin Park, pulling at his arm. She was young, maybe 25, with dirt on her face and fear in her eyes. Behind them, the bunker shook as another blast hit nearby. Dae-ho looked around the command center one last time. Broken screens showed the same horrible truth everywhere. New York was gone. London was gone. Tokyo was gone. The aliens had come not to talk or trade but to kill. They called themselves the Valaks and they treated humans like insects. "How many ships do we have left?" Dae-ho asked. 12 fighters, sir," replied Commander Sora Lee from across the room. She was older, maybe 40, with gray hair and steady hands. Even now, she kept working at her station. "The rest of the fleet is destroyed. 12 fighters against 3 ships the size of mountains." Dae-ho knew it was hopeless, but they had to try. Earth Defense Force officers didn't give up, even when facing the impossible. The alien attack had started 6 hours ago. No warning, no demands, no explanation. They simply appeared in Earth's orbit and began shooting. Their weapons turned metal into vapor and concrete into dust. Human missiles bounced off their shields like raindrops. "Sir, incoming message from the aliens," Yoo-jin said, her voice shaking. "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was cold and mechanical. It spoke perfect English, which somehow made it worse. "Humans of Earth, your resistance is pointless. Your species has been classified as primitive and suitable for removal.
This world will be harvested for resources.
Surrender and your death will be quick." Sora slammed her fist on the console. "Like hell we will." Dae-ho activated his communicator to reach what was left of Earth's forces. "All remaining units, this is Captain Kim. We're going to hit their lead ship with everything we have. Even if we can't win, we'll show them humans don't die quietly." The next 30 minutes felt like a lifetime. Dae-ho led the last 12 Earth fighters in a desperate charge against the alien flagship. Their missiles and lasers barely scratched its hull, but they kept attacking. One by one, his pilots died as alien fighters swarmed them. Then something unexpected happened. Captain Rodriguez from Brazil, flying an old cargo ship loaded with nuclear waste, made a final run at the alien flagship. "For Earth." He screamed over the radio before crashing into the ship's main hull. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. Nuclear fire spread across the alien ship's surface, and for a moment, Dae-ho thought they might have done real damage. The massive ship shuddered and began falling toward Earth's surface. Its shields flickered and died, but the victory cost everything. The explosion took out the last Earth fighters except for Dae-ho's. He watched the burning alien ship crash into what used to be Berlin as the other 2 alien vessels finished their work and departed. They left behind a dead world and a broken ship. 3 months later, Dae-ho crawled through the ruins of Berlin with Yoo-jin and 5 other survivors. The radiation was mostly gone, but the city looked like the surface of the moon. Everything was gray ash and twisted metal. "Captain, over here," called engineer Hyun-woo Choi. He was young and thin, maybe 30, with clever eyes and quick hands. Before the war, he had fixed starships. Now he fixed whatever he could find to keep them alive. Dae-ho climbed over a pile of rubble and saw what Hyun-woo had found. The alien ship lay on its side like a sleeping giant. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, maybe 3 kilometers long and 1 wide. The hull was cracked in places and strange lights flickered inside, but it was mostly whole. "Is it safe?" Yoo-jin asked. "Only one way to find out," Dae-ho said. They spent the next week carefully entering the ship. The inside was like walking through a metal forest. Everything was too big, built for creatures larger than humans. The walls curved in strange ways and symbols glowed with soft alien light. Yoo-jin, who had studied alien biology before the war, examined everything with wide eyes. "Their technology is so advanced," she whispered. "These power systems, these weapons, were like cavemen looking at a fighter jet." Sora joined them on the 3rd day, bringing 30 more survivors from her underground hideout. She looked around the alien ship with the eyes of a soldier. "Can we use any of this?" "Maybe," Hyun-woo said, running his hands over an alien control panel. "The main systems are damaged but not destroyed. If we could figure out how they work." "We have time," Dae-ho said grimly. "Nobody's coming to rescue us. The government is gone. The military is gone. Most of humanity is gone. This ship might be our only chance." Yoo-jin found the ship's databanks on the 5th day. Most were destroyed, but she managed to recover some files. What she found made her sick. The aliens had records of hundreds of worlds they had attacked. Billions of dead species. Entire civilizations wiped out for their resources. They call it harvesting, she told the others that night as they sat around a small fire in the ship's main bay. To them, we're not people. We're just things in the way of useful metals and chemicals. They've done this to hundreds of worlds. Deho stared into the fire. Around him, the 37 survivors of Earth looked tired and broken. But in their eyes, he saw something else. Anger. The same cold fury that burned in his own chest. Then we make them pay, he said quietly. With what? Sora asked. We're 37 people with a broken alien ship we don't understand. Deho stood up and looked around at the massive alien machinery surrounding them. With this, we learn how it works. We fix it, we improve it, and then we hunt them down. Hyunwoo laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. You want to fight an entire alien empire with one ship? No, Deho said, his voice growing stronger. I want to show them what happens when you try to wipe out humanity. They think we're primitive. They think we're weak. They're about to learn why that's a very dangerous mistake. Outside, the wind howled through the ruins of Berlin, but inside the alien ship something new was beginning. Not hope exactly. Hope was too gentle a word for what burned in their hearts. This was something harder and colder. This was the beginning of human fury. 6 months had passed since the alien ship became their home. Deho walked through its dark corridors, listening to the sounds of human voices and human work. What had once been an alien weapon was slowly becoming something else. Something human. Yu-Jin met him at the ship's central computer core. She looked tired but excited. For weeks, she had been trying to access the alien data systems. Most were locked or destroyed, but she never gave up. I got into their main files, she said, holding up a small alien device. You need to see this. They gathered in what used to be the ship's command center. Sora was there, along with Hyunwoo and the other team leaders. Over the months, more survivors had found them. Now they had almost 200 people living in and around the ship. Yu-Jin activated the alien display system. Strange symbols filled the air above them, then shifted into English as the translation program worked. The ship's name was Kethmaran. It was part of something called the Valak's Imperial Fleet. Images flashed before them. Star maps showing hundreds of solar systems, military reports, lists of conquered worlds. Each entry was the same: arrival, bombardment, harvesting, departure. World after world reduced to empty rocks. How many? Sora asked quietly. Over 800 worlds in the last 50 years, Yu-Jin said. Billions of people. Dozens of different species. All dead. The room fell silent. Deho stared at the numbers floating in the air. Each one represented an entire civilization. People with families, dreams, hopes, all gone because the Valaks wanted their resources. There's more, Yu-Jin continued. She brought up another file. This is Earth's classification in their system. The display showed Earth's entry in the Valaks database. The words burned into Deho's mind. Species classification primitive. Technology level minimal. Threat assessment none. Recommended action standard harvesting protocol. They didn't even consider us worth studying, Hyunwoo said with bitter anger. We were just another job to them. Yu-Jin nodded. The attack orders called it a minor harvesting operation. They expected to finish in one day and move on. Deho felt something cold and hard settling in his chest. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was deeper than that. It was the kind of fury that burned without flame, that cut without blade. Show me their military strength, he said. The display changed again. Fleet compositions, ship counts, personnel numbers. The Valaks Empire had over 10,000 warships spread across their territory. Millions of soldiers. Weapons that could crack planets. We can't fight that, Sora said. Nobody could. Maybe not directly, Deho said. But they have a weakness. No, what weakness? Hyunwoo asked. Deho pointed at Earth's classification again. They think we're primitive. They think we're stupid. They've been conquering civilizations for centuries, and every time it's the same. Show up, shoot, take what they want, leave. They've never faced anyone who learned from them. Over the following weeks, they dove deeper into the alien ship. Hyunwoo led teams of engineers through every system. They found weapon controls that could level cities, shield generators that could stop nuclear missiles, engines that could cross space faster than light. It's incredible, Hyunwoo reported during their weekly meeting. Their technology is maybe 1,000 years ahead of ours. But you know what? It's not magic. It follows rules. And once you understand the rules, you can break them, finished Myung-Yang. She was a former naval officer who had joined them last month, smart and tough, with a gift for understanding how weapons worked. They set up workshops throughout the ship. Human engineers worked alongside alien machinery, learning by touch and trial. Sometimes they got hurt. Sometimes they broke things. But slowly they began to understand. Yujin made the next breakthrough. I found their communication logs, she announced one evening. The ship was sending reports back to the Valix fleet right up until it crashed. She displayed the final messages. Status reports. Damage assessments. And then, in the last transmission, human resistance minimal as expected. Harvesting proceeding on schedule. Minor damage from primitive weapons. Departure in 6 hours. They never even noticed Captain Rodriguez's attack, Sora said. To them it was just an accident. Good, Deho said. Let them keep thinking that. As winter turned to spring, their small community grew stronger. People arrived almost daily now. Survivors from around the world who had heard rumors of a safe place in the ruins of Berlin. They brought skills, knowledge, and most importantly, hope. Taemin John arrived in March. He had been a fighter pilot before the war, one of the best. Now he studied the alien fighter craft they had found in the ship's hangar bays. These things are fast, he told Deho. Faster than anything we ever built. But the controls are designed for creatures with 4 arms. I think I can modify them for humans. Dr. Insu Kang came in April. He was a physicist who had worked on fusion reactors before the war. When he saw the alien power systems, his eyes lit up like a child seeing fireworks. This is impossible, he kept saying. But it works. It actually works. By summer, they had their first success. Yunwu's team managed to power up one of the ship's weapon systems. The test shot punched a hole through a mountain 10 kilometers away. Now we're getting somewhere, Sora said with satisfaction. But Deho was already thinking bigger. One ship, even with alien weapons, couldn't defeat an empire. They needed something more. Something the Valix would never expect. We're not going to repair this ship, he announced at their next meeting. We're going to improve it. Improve it how? Yujin asked. Deho smiled for the first time in months. It wasn't a nice smile. The Valix build their ships to conquer primitive worlds. Standard tactics, standard weapons, standard defenses. They've never had to fight someone who knew all their tricks. He gestured to the walls around them. This ship is going to become something new. Part alien technology, part human innovation. We're going to take everything they know and make it better. And then, Sora asked, then we're going to show the galaxy what happens when you try to exterminate humanity. Deho said. The Valix think they wiped us out. They're about to discover they made the worst mistake in their history. Outside, night was falling over the ruins of Earth. But inside the alien ship, hundreds of humans worked by artificial light. They bent metal and learned languages and solved impossible problems. They were transforming an alien weapon into something new. They were creating humanity's revenge. The Valix had left behind a broken warship, thinking the primitives were too stupid to use it. Soon they would learn that humans were very good at taking broken things and making them work. And when humans got angry enough, they made things work very, very well. 2 years had passed since the ship became their home and everything had changed. Deho stood in what used to be the alien command center watching his people work. Hundreds of humans moved through the corridors with purpose and skill. They had learned to speak the alien language, operate alien machines, and think like warriors. The ship itself looked different now. Human technology mixed with alien systems in ways that should have been impossible. Cables ran along the walls in patterns no Valix engineer would recognize. Control panels showed human displays next to alien symbols. It was beautiful and strange, like a metal flower growing in directions gravity had never intended. Admiral, said Commander Yunhai Shin, approaching with a datapad. The survivors had promoted Deho months ago, when it became clear they were building something bigger than a repair operation. The weapon tests are complete, Deho nodded. They had stopped calling him captain when their numbers reached 1,000. People kept arriving from hidden settlements around the world. Word had spread that something special was happening in the ruins of Berlin. Something that might give humanity a chance to hit back. Show me, he said. They walked to the main hangar, which had been converted into a testing facility. In the center sat a weapon that had never existed before. Part alien plasma cannon, part human railgun, with power systems that drew from both technologies. Yujin was there with her technical team, all wearing protective gear. Over the past 2 years, she had become their chief scientist. Her understanding of alien technology was beyond anything the Valaks had imagined possible. "This is the Mark VII hybrid cannon," she explained, patting the weapon like a favorite pet. "Alien plasma generation with human targeting systems and power regulation. It hits 3 times harder than the original Valaks design." "How?" Daeho asked. "The aliens built their weapons for standard warfare," replied Dr. Insu Kang, who had joined Yujin's research team. "Always the same tactics, always the same targets. We built this for surprise attacks and maximum damage. They fired the weapon at a test mountain 50 kilometers away. The blast didn't just destroy the target, it turned it into a small crater. The alien technology provided the power, but human engineering made it efficient and deadly. The Valaks would never design something like this," Yujin said with satisfaction. "They don't think outside their patterns." Daeho walked through more of the ship, seeing similar improvements everywhere. The shield generators now used human-designed backup systems that made them nearly impossible to overload. The engines combined alien speed with human reliability. Even the life support systems had been upgraded with Earth technology. In the pilot training section, Taimin John was teaching a group of volunteers how to fly modified alien fighters. The small ships had been completely rebuilt with human controls and weapons. The original ships were fast but predictable, Taimin explained to his students. "We've changed the flight patterns, modified the weapons placement, and added some surprises the Valaks have never seen." One of his students, a young woman named Ji-Woo Park, raised her hand. "What kind of surprises?" Taimin grinned. "The kind that will make Valaks pilots very unhappy." The underground facility they had built around the ship was impressive. Using alien digging tools and human planning, they had created a hidden base that stretched for kilometers beneath the German countryside. Workshops, living quarters, training facilities, and storage areas all connected by tunnels that could hide their activities from any searching eyes. Sora had spent most of her time building their intelligence network. Her people had made contact with survivor groups on every continent. Some were tiny communities hiding in ruins. Others were larger settlements that had managed to stay hidden. During the initial attack, we have confirmed contacts with over 50,000 survivors worldwide, she reported during their monthly planning meeting. Most are willing to help however they can. "What about volunteers for the ship?" Daeho asked. "More than we can use," Sora said. "Everyone wants a chance to fight back. We've had to turn people away. That was both good and bad news. They needed skilled people, but training took time. And they had to be careful. Too many people moving around might attract attention from space. The Valaks occasionally sent scout ships to check on their harvested worlds. Navigator Dong-Hyun Lim had been studying alien star charts for months. He was a former merchant marine who understood space travel better than anyone else on the ship. "I've found their patrol routes," he announced. "The Valaks check on Earth every 6 months. The next visit is in 4 weeks, and are we ready?" Daeho asked. Yujin looked around the room at their team leaders. Hyunwoo with his engineers, Yoon-hai with her weapons specialists, Taemin with his pilots, Insu with his scientists. All of them had spent 2 years preparing for this moment. "The ship is ready," Yujin said. "Better than ready. We've improved every major system. Our weapons are more powerful, our shields are stronger, our engines are faster, and we've added capabilities the Valaks never imagined." "What about the crew?" Daeho asked Sora. 800 volunteers fully trained and ready," she replied. "Another 200 in reserve. All of them know this might be a one-way trip." Daeho looked around the room one more time. These people had spent 2 years transforming themselves from survivors into warriors. They had taken alien technology and made it better. They had learned to fight with weapons beyond their wildest dreams, but more than that, they had learned to think like hunters. "There's something else," Yujin said quietly. "I've been analyzing Valak's communication patterns. Their empire is huge, but it's also spread thin. Most of their ships operate alone or in small groups. They rely on their reputation to keep conquered worlds quiet." "Meaning?" Daeho asked. "Meaning they're not expecting organized resistance, especially not from a supposedly dead world. If we hit them fast and hard, we can cause real damage before they figure out what's happening." Daeho nodded slowly. It was time to stop hiding and start hunting. The Valaks had killed billions of humans, but they had made one crucial mistake. They had left behind a warship and assumed the primitive humans were too stupid to use it. "Send word to all our contacts," he ordered. "Tell them to stay hidden and stay ready. In 4 weeks, when the Valak scout ship arrives, they're going to discover that humanity is very much alive." "And after that?" Sora asked. Deho smiled, and this time it was cold as space and sharp as a blade. "After that, we start paying them back for every human life they took. We're going to hunt them across the galaxy until they learn that trying to extinct humanity was the worst decision they ever made." Outside, snow was falling on the ruins of Berlin, but deep underground in the hidden chambers surrounding an alien warship, 800 humans prepared for war. They had spent 2 years turning themselves into something the galaxy had never seen before. They had become humanity's revenge, and they were finally ready to hunt. The Valak scout ship Velthanor dropped out of hyperspace exactly on schedule, 3 years after the Earth harvest. Commander Thekver expected another routine inspection of an empty world. Instead, he found a nightmare waiting for him. Admiral Deho watched the alien ship approach Earth from the bridge of the Retribution, their renamed and rebuilt warship. After 3 years of preparation, humanity was finally ready to hunt. "Contact in 30 minutes, reported Navigator Donghyun from his station. The bridge was a strange mix of human and alien technology, with Earth-built displays showing Valak sensor data. "All stations ready," confirmed Commander Yunhai. Around the bridge, 800 crew members waited at their posts. They were the best of humanity's survivors. Engineers, soldiers, pilots, and scientists who had spent 3 years learning to fight with alien weapons. The plan was simple and brutal. Let the scout ship get close to Earth, disable it without destroying it, take prisoners and information, then begin the real hunt. "Taemin, are your fighters ready?" Deho asked. 40 pilots standing by in modified Valak's fighters, came the reply from the flight deck. "They won't know what hit them." The alien scout ship was smaller than the Retribution, but still dangerous. It carried advanced sensors and weapons that could level cities. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible for humans to defeat. But these weren't normal circumstances. "They're scanning the planet," Yujin reported from her science station. "Standard search pattern. They're not looking for anything unusual." "Perfect. The Valak still thought Earth was dead. Their arrogance would be their downfall." "Wait for my signal," Deho ordered. The scout ship completed its scan and began to leave. That was when the Retribution struck. They appeared behind the alien vessel like a ghost made of metal and fury. Their first shot disabled the scout ship's engines. The second destroyed its communication array. "This is Admiral Deho of the Terran Defense Force," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Surrender immediately or be destroyed." The response was immediate panic. Alien voices screamed over the radio in their own language. Yujin had learned enough Valaks to translate. "They're saying it's impossible," she reported. "The humans are supposed to be extinct." "Tell them extinction was just the beginning," Deho said grimly. The scout ship tried to fight back, but human fighters swarmed around it like angry wasps. Taemin's pilots flew in patterns no Valaks had ever seen, using modified weapons that cut through alien shields like paper. Within an hour, the scout ship was captured. Its crew of 30 Valak soldiers found themselves prisoners of the supposedly dead human race. "Take them to the interrogation chambers," Deho ordered. "I want to know everything about their fleet positions, supply routes, and patrol schedules." The interrogation revealed more than they had hoped. The captured Valaks were terrified and confused. In their minds, humans were primitive creatures who had been properly exterminated. The idea that these animals had not only survived but learned to use Valak's technology was beyond their understanding. "There are mining operations in the Kepler system," reported Sora after 3 days of questioning. 12 ships strip mining asteroids. Minimal defenses. "They're not expecting trouble." "Perfect," Deho said. "We start there." The Retribution jumped to hyperspace using alien engines that had been improved with human engineering. Where Valak's ships were fast but predictable, the human vessel was fast and invisible. They had learned to hide their energy signature and mask their approach. The Kepler mining operation never saw them coming. Deho led the attack personally, commanding from the bridge while Taemin's fighters struck the mining ships. The aliens were completely unprepared for organized resistance. Most of their weapons were designed for asteroid mining, not ship-to-ship combat. "Target their communication arrays first," Deho ordered. I don't want any distress signals getting out. The battle lasted less than 20 minutes. 12 Valix mining ships were captured or destroyed. More importantly, they rescued over 300 alien prisoners, members of other species who had been enslaved by the Valix Empire. "Who are you?" asked one of the freed prisoners, a tall, blue-skinned creature with 4 arms and intelligent eyes. "We're humans," Eugen replied through a translation device. "The Valix tried to wipe us out 3 years ago." The alien's eyes widened. "You're the Earth species? But the report said you were all dead." "Reports of our death were greatly exaggerated," Deho said. "What's your name?" "I am Kethmar of the Zephyrian people. My world was harvested 8 years ago. I thought all resistance was hopeless." "Not anymore," Deho said. "Would you like to help us fight back?" That was how the Retribution gained its first alien crew members. Kethmar and 50 other survivors joined the human crew, bringing knowledge of Valix tactics and territory that proved invaluable. Over the following months, they struck again and again. Supply convoys disappeared without a trace. Remote outposts went silent. Mining operations vanished overnight. Each attack was swift, brutal, and completely unexpected. The humans learned to fight like wolves, striking from the shadows and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. They captured Valix technology and improved it with human innovation. They rescued enslaved populations and recruited volunteers for their growing fleet. "The aliens are starting to panic," reported Eugen after monitoring Valix communications. "They're calling us the Ghost Fleet. Some commanders think we're a new species they haven't encountered before." "Good," Daiho said. "Let them stay confused." The Retribution was no longer alone. Using captured Valix ships and rescued crew members, they had built a small fleet of hybrid vessels. Each ship combined alien technology with human adaptability, creating weapons of war that the galaxy had never seen. Captain Mi-Young Yang commanded the captured destroyer Vengeance. Engineer Hyunwoo had turned it into a floating weapons laboratory, testing new combinations of human and alien technology. Commander Yunhai led the converted freighter Justice, which served as their mobile repair facility and training center for new recruits. The most important addition was the former Valix officer who had defected after his ship was captured. Sub-Commander Velthak had grown disgusted with the Empire's endless slaughter, and provided crucial intelligence about Valix fleet movements. "There's a major supply depot in the Arcturus system," he reported during their monthly planning meeting. "Heavily defended, but it supplies dozens of Valix fleets. If we could hit it, we could cripple their operations in this entire sector," Deho finished. "How many ships are guarding it?" 30 warships, including 2 heavy cruisers, Velthak said. "Far more than we can handle in direct combat." Deho smiled. "Who said anything about direct combat?" The attack on Arcturus was their most ambitious operation yet. Instead of a frontal assault, they used infiltration and sabotage. Kethmar led a team of volunteers who disguised themselves as Valix prisoners being transported in a captured ship. Once inside the depot's defenses, they planted explosives throughout the facility. When the charges detonated, the entire depot erupted in a chain of explosions that could be seen from orbit. 30 Valix ships found themselves trapped in a debris field with their fuel and ammunition supplies destroyed. "This is the Terran Liberation Fleet," Deho broadcast as his ships emerged from hyperspace. "Surrender and you will be treated fairly. Resist and you will be destroyed." Some Valix ships surrendered. Others tried to fight. Within 6 hours, the entire depot was in human hands, along with enough supplies and equipment to outfit 100 ships. Word of the victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. On a dozen conquered worlds, enslaved populations whispered that the humans had returned. The supposedly extinct Earth species was not only alive but winning battles against the mighty Valix Empire. "They're calling us liberators," Eugen reported, reading intercepted communications from freed worlds. "Resistance movements are starting up everywhere." Deho looked around the bridge of the Retribution, where humans and aliens worked side by side. 3 years ago, they had been hiding in the ruins of a dead world. Now they were the galaxy's new hope for freedom. "Send a message to all Valix forces," he ordered. "Tell them that humanity remembers every world they destroyed, every life they took, every species they enslaved. Tell them we're coming for them all." The hunt had begun, and humanity would not stop until every innocent death was avenged. 5 years after Earth's fall, the Retribution led a fleet of 60 ships toward the heart of the Valix Empire. Admiral Deho stood on the bridge watching the stars ahead where the Valak's homeworld waited. After years of hunting across the galaxy, humanity had finally come home to settle the score. The Terran Liberation Fleet was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships flew alongside vessels from dozens of freed species. The bridge crew spoke 20 different languages, but they all shared the same burning purpose: to end Valak's tyranny forever. Approaching the Valak's prime system, reported navigator Dong Hyun. Around him, displays showed the massive defensive fleet waiting ahead. Over 200 Valak's warships protected their homeworld, the largest military force ever assembled. "They know we're coming," observed Commander Sora from her tactical station. "High Admiral Thekvar himself is commanding their defense fleet." Deho nodded. Thekvar was the architect of Earth's destruction and hundreds of other genocides. Today he would answer for every innocent life he had taken. "All ships prepare for battle," Deho broadcast to the fleet. "Today we end this war. Today we show the galaxy that evil has consequences." Yujin looked up from her science station. Over the years, she had become humanity's greatest expert on alien technology. "Admiral, I'm detecting something unusual about their formations. They're using standard defensive patterns, but what?" Deho asked. "They're not adapting to our hybrid technology. They're still fighting like we're just another primitive species they can crush with superior numbers." That was the Valak's Empire's greatest weakness, their inability to change. For 1,000 years they had conquered worlds using the same tactics, the same strategies, the same arrogant assumptions. They had never faced an enemy who learned from them and improved on their methods. The first wave of Valak's fighters launched toward the human fleet. Taemin, now commanding all fighter operations, led the response with modified alien ships that moved in patterns no Valak's pilot had ever seen. "Remember your training," he broadcast to his squadron leaders. "They expect us to fight like the species they've conquered before. Show them what human tactics look like." The space battle that followed was like a storm made of light and metal. Valak's ships fired in coordinated volleys, using overwhelming firepower to crush their enemies. But the human fleet scattered and regrouped in unpredictable ways, striking weak points and vanishing before the aliens could respond. Engineer Hyun-woo coordinated the technical assault from the Retribution's engineering section. "Activating virus weapons," he reported. Years of studying Valak's computer systems had allowed him to create programs that could turn their own technology against them. Across the enemy fleet, Valak ships suddenly found their weapons targeting their own allies. Their defensive systems shut down without warning. Ships designed to work together began destroying each other as human viruses spread through their networks. "Impossible," screamed High Admiral Thekvar over the communication channels. "These are primitive creatures. How do they know our systems?" "Because we learned from the ship you left behind," Deho replied on all frequencies. "Every piece of technology you gave us we made better. Every weakness you showed us we exploited. You taught us everything we needed to destroy you." The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships worked together with their alien allies in ways that confused and terrified the Valak's forces. Where the Empire relied on rigid hierarchy and standard procedures, the Liberation Fleet used creativity and adaptation. Captain Myung Yang led a boarding assault on the Valak's flagship, using captured alien soldiers who had defected to the human cause. Commander Eun-hai coordinated massive weapons barrages that combined human innovation with alien power. The turning point came when Sora led a strike force directly at High Admiral Thekvar's command ship. Her boarding teams fought through the alien vessel's corridors, using weapons that combined human tactics with Valak's technology. "This is for Earth," she said as she confronted Thekvar on his own bridge. "This is for every world you destroyed." The alien commander looked at her with confusion and fear. In his mind, humans were supposed to be extinct animals, not the fierce warriors standing before him. "Your species was classified as primitive," he said desperately. "You should have died quietly like all the others." "That was your mistake," Sora replied. "You thought extinction would make us weak. Instead, it made us furious." The capture of the Valak's flagship broke their fleet's morale. Ship after ship surrendered as word spread that High Admiral Thekvar himself had been taken prisoner. The defenders of the Valak's homeworld found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't understand or defeat. Deho stood on the bridge of the captured Valak's flagship, looking down at the alien homeworld through its massive windows. The planet below was beautiful and peaceful, protected by the suffering of 1,000 conquered worlds. "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked Kethmar, who had become one of his most trusted officers. Deho thought of Earth burning, of billions of human voices silenced forever. He thought of all the other worlds the Valaks had destroyed, all the species they had wiped out without a second thought. "Send a message to the planet below," he said finally. "Tell them their empire is finished. Tell them the age of Valak's conquest is over. From now on, the galaxy belongs to the free peoples who choose cooperation over domination." The victory at Valak's Prime sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Within weeks, rebellion erupted on hundreds of conquered worlds. The Valak's empire, built on fear and overwhelming force, began to crumble as its subjects learned that their oppressors could be defeated. Yu-Jin worked with teams from dozens of species to establish new governments on liberated worlds. "The Valaks kept detailed records of every species they conquered," she reported. "We can help survivors find their scattered people and rebuild their civilizations." The Retribution became the flagship of a new galactic alliance. Representatives from over 100 species came together to create something the galaxy had never seen, a union, based on cooperation and mutual defense, rather than conquest and oppression. "What do we do with the Valaks prisoners?" Sora asked during one of their planning meetings. Deho looked at the former High Admiral who sat in a detention cell designed for war criminals. The alien who had ordered Earth's destruction now faced justice from the species he had tried to exterminate. "We try them for their crimes," he said. "Every species they destroyed deserves to see justice done. But we don't become like them. We show the galaxy that there's a better way." 10 years after the fall of Earth, Deho stood in the council chambers of the new Galactic Liberation Alliance. Around him, representatives from hundreds of worlds worked together to build a future based on freedom and cooperation. The human delegation was small, but respected. Earth was being rebuilt with help from dozens of grateful species. The dead cities were becoming gardens again, and human children played in parks where alien flowers grew alongside Earth plants. "The Valaks taught us an important lesson," Deho said during his speech to the Alliance. "They showed us what happens when power is used for destruction instead of creation. They proved that no matter how advanced a civilization becomes, it's still capable of great evil." He paused, looking around at the alien faces watching him. "But they also taught us something else. They showed us that even when everything seems lost, even when an entire species faces extinction, there's always hope. Because the strongest force in the universe isn't technology or weapons or fear." "What is it?" asked a young delegate from a recently liberated world. Deho smiled, thinking of all the humans who had died defending Earth, and all the humans who had lived to see freedom restored to the galaxy. "The strongest force in the universe is what happens when good people refuse to give up," he said. "The Valaks left behind a broken warship, thinking we were too primitive to use it. Instead, we turned their own technology against them and became something they never expected." "What's that?" the young delegate asked. "We became Hope Incarnate," Deho replied. "And that's something no empire can ever truly defeat." Outside the council chambers, ships from 100 worlds traveled freely through space that had once belonged to a tyrannical empire. The galaxy was healing, and humanity had played a crucial role in its liberation. The aliens had tried to destroy Earth and failed. In trying to exterminate humanity, they had instead created their own worst nightmare, a species that learned from its enemies and refused to accept defeat. The Valaks empire was finished, but the universe was just beginning to discover what humans could accomplish when they set their minds to building instead of destroying. And in the ruins of Berlin, where it all began, a monument stood over the place where an alien warship had crashed. The inscription was simple but powerful. "They came to end us. We used their gift to free the galaxy. Never underestimate the fury of the wronged."